exciting. Let's get into it. Quick roundup of the week. Let's start with Iraq, where things went from worse to worser.
4 towns on the highway between the Syrian border and Baghdad fell yesterday to ISIS. That is the Sunni militant group, an offshoot of al-Qaeda that is wreaking havoc in the country.
OK, well, that settles it. The Iraq-Syria border just earned the title of scariest place in the entire world. You had a good run, Kevin Spacey's sex dungeon. The White House announced this week that we will be sending some support, although they made one thing almost overly clear.
They are not being sent to participate in combat. Their role is not combat mission. This is not a combat mission. This is not a combat mission. It is not a combat mission. This is not a combat mission. The president was crystal clear. This is not a combat mission.
Be careful. If you say this is not a combat mission 5 times into a mirror, 30,000 troops appear spontaneously in Baghdad. Be careful. So who exactly are we sending on this non-combat mission?
More United States forces are heading to Iraq. President Obama plans to send up to 300 military advisors to the country. 300 military advisors? Please don't tell me that that is the next installment in the 300 franchise. Spartans, prepare for glory! And remember, we are here purely in a non-combat advisory capacity. Tonight we dine in the hotel. Meanwhile, this week in Thailand, they're still reeling from last month's military coup, which was followed by curfews and clampdowns on freedom of speech. However, the general who led the coup has promised to create, and I quote, a genuine democracy in Thailand, which sounds nice. But something about this photo doesn't exactly scream genuine democracy to me. I'm telling you, just add Kyle MacLachlan and a tiny dancing man in a red suit. You've got yourself an actual David Lynch movie. Now, since then, the general has tried to put a friendlier face on that dystopian nightmare by launching, and this is true, a happiness campaign. And what makes people happier than free stuff?
Free broadcasts of all 64 World Cup games. They're also giving away movie tickets, throwing free concerts in Bangkok with singing soldiers and scantily clad women, and even brought horses with bales of hay downtown for people to pet.
Well, if they think people are that easy to manipulate, they are right. Look, I can't vote or express dissent, but look at him, he's so soft. I'm going to name him Huckleberry, Huckleberry the horsey. And if that doesn't work, the general still has one amazing final trick up his sleeve.
The Army Chief General, Prayut Chan-o-cha, wants to return happiness to Thailand. So much so that he wrote a ballad about it.
Oh, General, you didn't need to win them over with power ballads. You had them at do not leave your homes after 10 p.m. at night. And finally tonight, let's talk about Antarctica. I'm afraid it's been a week of bad news.
New research from Australian scientists says tourists are threatening the Antarctic biodiversity with pollution and physical disturbances.
More than 40,000 people actually visit Antarctica every single year, and scientists say even walking on moss beds will leave footprints that could last for centuries.
Look, I know this isn't how I'm supposed to react to that, but that really makes me want to walk on an Antarctic moss bed. Which is why Antarctica is in serious trouble. Environmental destruction is not enough to stop the tide of tourists and morning shows desperate for unusual travel segment filler.
You may not think of Antarctica as a vacation destination, but apparently that's changing.
The #1 reason folks say they come on tour groups to see those human-like flightless birds, the penguins.
And then they cry when they're hungry.
Some of the freshest water you'll probably ever taste because it dates back 400,000 years.
What are you doing? Oh, tragically, the Antarctic ice shelf is rapidly diminishing. Now, if you'll excuse me... So pure, so rare. That
is the problem. I know we're not supposed to go to Antarctica, but there are free penguins and snow cones there. So they're going to have to launch a pretty strong anti-tourist campaign, or we'll do it for them.
Antarctica, the majestic seventh continent, an unspoiled land of incredible ice formations that you simply have to see. And seeing as how you're looking at them right now, you've technically seen them. So don't come here. Seriously. You want to feel the bracing cold on your skin? Stick your dick in a freezer. You want to see a seal up close? Here's a seal up close. Now here's a seal in HD. Now it's in 3D. It's like you're actually here, which hopefully you're not. Our point is, you don't need to come here. Want to impress your friends by going someplace exotic? How about Belgium? Have your friends been to Belgium? No? Then it's exotic to them. And if you simply have to have ice, go to Alaska and tell them you went to Antarctica. They won't know the difference. Hey, guess which of these is Alaska? You don't know, do you? It's both of them. We don't care where in the world you go, just so long as it's in this general area, and not here. Antarctica. Stop coming here.
You've got to go. You have to visit. Let's move on. Look, let's deal with the elephant in the room tonight. I'm sorry that Game of Thrones is not on anymore. But I may be able to help you with your withdrawal, because recently there was some real-life royal news.
The King of Spain, Juan Carlos, has announced he's abdicating after nearly 40 years in power.
See? Who's missing Game of Thrones now, huh? Who needs decapitations or poisonings when you've got a 76-year-old man peacefully resigning? I will say I am totally against abdications. No tour guide should ever be able to say, here is where our ex-king lives, and point to a one-bedroom apartment. There is a place where ex-kings are supposed to go, and it's called the ground. The problem was that public opinion had turned against King Juan Carlos for his lavish lifestyle in the midst of Spain's recession, which meant that his son's coronation this week was a bit underwhelming.
As coronations go, this one was a deliberate bargain basement job.
King Felipe VI received the red sash of the Captain General of the Armed Forces from his father, Juan Carlos.
That's it? You didn't even get a crown? Just a red fucking sash that your daddy put on you? What are you, the King of Spain, or a kid who just got a new belt in karate class? And you call this a royal parade? You're just taking an Uber around the city. Let me show you something. This is a parade. This is what happened in Los Angeles this week to celebrate their hockey team winning the Stanley Cup. That's right, the LA Kings had a bigger parade than the actual Spanish king. And LA doesn't give a shit about hockey. But all this raises a much bigger question. Why does any country still have royalty at all? There are currently 26 royal families reigning in 43 countries. That's 43 countries where asking who died and made you king is an entirely legitimate question. Now, don't get me wrong, at one point, monarchies did serve a genuine historical purpose. Kings and queens were all-powerful. They either led their countries into battle on horses or kept the peace by being strategically married off to other royal families. Let us commemorate this treaty by having our children fuck. Can we still invade Italy? I'll just check the family tree. No, I'm afraid not. Our cousins are banging their cousins. And if you want modern proof of this, just look at who was in the room at the recent British royal wedding.
After centuries of continental coupling, many of Europe's royals are related by blood to the British crown.
There's a lot of cousins, and they probably don't even know who's related to who.
The gene pool of European royalty is so small, the only difference between that and an Alabama wedding are the amount of paper plates at the reception and how drunk the violin player's going to be. Now, to be fair, some of the current 26 monarchies still have that old-school flavour. And if you want some modern-day Game of Thrones shit, you have got to head to the Middle East, where some royal families have virtually unchecked power and they act like it. A few years back, a member of the United Arab Emirates royal family was charged with a horrifying crime.
On the videotape that was released by a business associate of Sheikh Issa, you can see Sheikh Issa and others torturing this man. He's been acquitted despite 5 other people who are also charged over this being found guilty.
Yeah, because unfortunately for them, the judge found them guilty not just of that, but the much larger crime of not being a member of the royal family there. And sure, yeah, that's just one rogue family member, but that's the key drawback of inherited power. Having a monarchy means the fate of your country is basically a genetic lottery, because every family has the one fuck-up they talk about behind their backs. And if you're thinking, my family doesn't, then I'm afraid it's you. I'm sorry about that. But sooner or later, every country loses a round of royal roulette. Now, remember the military coup in Thailand at the start of the show? That's happening at least in part because Thailand loves their current king. The problem is, he's near the end of his life, and his son is an idiot.
He's enormously unpopular within the country. The Crown Prince, he's considered a bit of a buffoon.
That's right. Thailand actually has a buffoonish Crown Prince. And I understand why the Thai people are upset, because they have a law where you can get 15 years in jail for insulting the monarchy, and yet they have a prince who featured in, and this is true, a video of a birthday party he threw for his dog, a miniature poodle called Fufu, in which his topless wife served the dog birthday cake. And you're telling me they're not supposed to make fun of that? That's entrapment! That's not fair! You ask too much! And I'll be honest, seeing stories like that is enough to make me glad that the Queen of England is mostly decorative now. In fact, the most relevant thing she's done recently was announce that this week she's going to visit the Game of Thrones set.
The Queen of England is heading to Westeros. The British monarch will visit the Belfast set next week during her tour of Northern Ireland. We're all waiting for a shot of her sitting in the Iron Throne.
Oh. You don't need to wait. Here, there she is. There. There she is right now, embodying the harsh irony that is her existence. Because at that moment next week, she will be a queen with fake power visiting a fake kingdom which arguably has more impact on the lives of her countrymen than she does. And now, this.
And now, political figures telling you what they are not.
I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist.
I'm not a psychiatrist.
I'm not a psychologist.
I'm not a security professional.
I'm not a drink measurer.
I'm not a witch.
I'm not a scientist.
I'm not a scientist, but I'm an optometrist.
I am not a politician by trade.
I'm not a control freak.
I'm not a Ron Paul Republican.
I'm not a dingo.
Well, I'm not a repairman.
I'm not a doom and gloom person.
I am not an empty dress. I am not a rubber stamp, and I am not a cheerleader.
OK, all right. Now, finally tonight, I would like to talk about doctors. They're among our most trusted professionals. Nearly 70% of us rate them highly on ethical standards. Our lives and occasionally our balls are in their hands. Which is why it was especially troubling last week to see this.
With his syndicated TV show, magazine, and website, Dr. Oz has become one of America's most trusted docs. But on Capitol Hill Tuesday, he was on the hot seat.
Excuse me, but any seat Dr. Oz is sitting on is the hot seat. So, what did the doctor do?
They criticized the talk show host for describing untested weight loss supplements as magical or miraculous.
I want you to write it down. Garcinia cambogia, because it may be the simple solution you've been looking for to bust your body fat for good. Now I've got the #1 miracle in a bottle to burn your fat. Lightning in a bottle. It's a miracle flower to fight fat.
Miracle flowers? Are you a doctor or an Old West travelling salesman? Have I got something miraculous for you, ladies and gentlemen? A monkey's paw mixed with 5 petals of a rose and a thimble full of otter semen. Guaranteed to cure your lumbago. Step right up here. The Senate hearing was about the marketing of dietary supplements, and unfortunately, no one is more effective at that than Dr. Oz.
Oz's advice is so influential that one mention of a product can cause sales to skyrocket. The phenomenon even has its own name, the Dr. Oz effect, After Dr. Oz touted a substance called green coffee bean extract, one company in Florida sold 500,000 bottles.
What's so wrong with that? Name me one case where a man named Oz claimed mystical powers and led people horribly astray. Name me one case. You can't do it. The only problem with the Dr. Oz effect is that magic pills don't technically exist, and Dr. Oz knows that.
Do you believe that there's a miracle pill out there?
There's not a pill that's going to help you long-term lose weight and live the best life without diet and exercise.
Do you believe there's a magic weight loss cure out there?
The word, if you're selling something because it's magical, no.
Right. That would be ridiculous. No one is claiming there's a magic pill out there. That would be stupid.
This little bean has scientists saying they found the magic weight loss cure for every body type.
See? He never said there was a magic pill. He said there was a magic bean. That's clearly entirely different, because magic beans are a very real thing that you trade your cow for so you can steal a golden harp from a giant. That's science. And by the way, a recent study found the main ingredient in those magic beans not only failed to help lab mice, it gave them the early symptoms of diabetes. Though, if you're a lab mouse with diabetes, you got off easy. Good luck getting any sympathy in the lab mouse support group. Oh, I'm sorry you can't have any candy. I've got an ear growing out of my fucking back. Jeff's got herpes. Sorry, Jeff. Here's the issue. Dr. Oz is a doctor, and one with degrees from 2 Ivy League schools. He's also dangerously likeable. Watch how Morning Joe reacted after seeing bits of his congressional testimony.
I only bought them once. It didn't.
Can I just say?
Did you buy them because you saw them on Dr. Oz?
I like Dr. Oz. I will confirm or deny.
I like him a lot.
I like him a lot.
And he's come here with really good advice.
He has
never
great advice.
done that.
And listen, if he's got magic coffee beans, I want some of that.
Me too.
No, I'm serious.
You just showed a report that implied they didn't work. You basically just did an Emperor's New Clothes piece and then ended it by saying, by the way, the Emperor's tailor was incredible. That guy can stitch. And to give Dr. Oz the benefit of overwhelming medical doubt, he seems to be standing by some of his claims.
I actually do personally believe in the items that I talk about in the show. I passionately study them. I recognize that oftentimes they don't have the scientific muster to present as fact.
But that's the whole point. You're presenting it as a doctor. If you want to keep spouting this bullshit, that's fine. But don't call it your show Dr. Oz. Call it Check This Shit Out with some guy named Mehmet. Just... The problem is, it's a good title, to be fair. The problem is, this Senate hearing is going to achieve nothing for a very chilling reason.
Beyond embarrassing Dr. Oz, there's very little that Congress can do in this arena. It is the Federal Trade Commission's job to go after online scams, and even they, Gail, can only scratch the surface.
She's right. Dr. Oz is just a symptom of the problem. The disease is the fact that dietary supplements in the US are shockingly unregulated. There are 2 agencies who theoretically oversee things, the FTC and the FDA. The FTC is supposed to regulate the marketing of supplements, but by their own admission, they give great deference to the FDA on whether a company's health claim can be supported. The problem with that is the FDA has little authority to investigate the contents of supplements until people are already getting sick from them. That sounds crazy, and in the past, they actually tried to change this. In the late 1980s, 38 people died from L-tryptophan supplements, and in response, the FDA tried to expand its authority. How did that go?
In 1993, the industry struck back. Consumers were urged to write to their congressmen or told they may have to kiss their vitamin C goodbye.
So did people write to their congressmen?
More people wrote to Congress about the supplement bill than wrote about the Vietnam War.
What? How good must the pro-vitamin protest songs have been? Ginseng! Huh! What is it good for? Sexual dysfunction and type 2 diabetes. Say it again, y'all! Say it again! Actually, there were actually no protest songs, but there were PSAs put out by the supplement industry featuring not just jackbooted thugs coming to take your vitamins, but a surprise celebrity cameo.
Breathe! Hey, guys, it's only vitamins.
If you don't want to lose your vitamins, make the FDA stop. Call the U.S. Senate and tell them that you want to take your vitamins in peace. If enough of us do that, it'll work.
Oh, 1993, it was a different time. When you could plausibly say, hey, be quiet, everybody, let's all listen to what Mel Gibson has to say. And the supplement industry didn't just pay for ads. They gave money to lawmakers like Republican Senator Orrin Hatch and Democratic Senator Tom Harkin. This was them back then. They actually became the two top recipients of funds from the industry. And in a crazy coincidence, they co-sponsored a bill to deregulate it.
I send to the desk a substitute amendment on behalf of Senators Hatch and Harkin. Today we honor the wishes of 100 million people, consumers of dietary supplements, people who simply want the ability to lead healthy lifestyles without the constant intervention of one tiny agency which is possessed by a regulatory zeal equaling none.
Regulatory zeal? He just criticised a regulatory agency for being too into regulating things. That's like accusing your podiatrist of having a foot fetish. Dude, you're obsessed with feet. You just tone it down a bit. Now, the supplement industry will claim that it is one of the more highly regulated industries. See how true you think that is. Because if you're a supplement company today, you do not need approval from the FDA before a product is marketed. You can make health claims without prior approval from the government, and you don't have to prove the safety or effectiveness of your product before putting it up for sale. The industry is essentially supposed to police itself. That's like one of those porn sites that asks you to enter your own age, which basically just ends up teaching children how to subtract 18 from the current year. It doesn't work. Which may explain why, since 1994, the supplement industry has gone from making $4 billion to $32 billion a year, with almost no side effects.
People who consume tainted dietary supplements have suffered from negative side effects, like severe bleeding, strokes, liver damage, or even death.
Health officials say the common item linked to several recent cases of acute liver failure in Hawaii is Oxy Elite Pro.
Orioles pitcher Steve Buscemi, who died after taking ephedra during last spring training. Ephedra stayed on the market an extra 2 years after many experts asked for a ban. Meantime, the number of deaths rose to 155, with 16,000 adverse events.
Wow, that's enough to make you wish for an agency with a certain amount of, what's the phrase? Regulatory zeal. And yet, lawmakers still resist regulation, because when 2 years ago a bill was proposed suggesting supplements should carry warning labels about potentially dangerous side effects, you'll never guess who popped up again.
The FDA already has a tremendous amount of regulatory oversight and enforcement tools when it comes to dietary supplements.
Every supplement has a label, has the ingredients and the potency by law on every single item that is sold as a supplement.
That's right, Hatch and Harkin, who in 2012 had retained their title of the top two recipients of campaign funds from the supplement industry. See? 2 decades later, those campaign contributions still working. Who says nutritional supplements don't have long-lasting effects? And by the way, on the point that Senator Harkin made about how every supplement has a label saying what's inside it, well, funny story. When a group of researchers recently DNA tested supplements from a dozen North American companies, they found that 1/3 contained no trace whatsoever of the plant advertised on the bottle. If 1 in 3 milk bottles didn't contain milk, you might think twice about pouring the white mystery liquid all over your cereal. But none of this is likely to change, because companies have access to the one genuinely, truly effective wonder drug. It's called lobbying. And here's how the science works. FDA regulation can really stop up your profits, jamming up your whole money-making system, which can lead to painful effects on the company's bottom line. But with lobbying's somehow legal process, all those pesky regulations just melt away into nothingness, giving you that comfortable corporate feeling of shitting money almost uncontrollably. Ask your lawyers if lobbying is right for you. But none of this, though, none of this answers the key Dr. Oz question. Now, he says he wasn't paid to mention any particular products. So, why say those things on TV at all?
In an intent to engage viewers, I used flowery language. I used language that was very passionate.
That makes sense, because we're all looking for flowery language from our physicians. Like the sunlight shines upon the hidden grassy meadow, so does chlamydia cast a warm glow upon your private parts. And when he says engaging viewers, that is the problem. Perhaps his fatal flaw is that he's done 870 daily hour-long shows about health and medicine, which is impossible. Sooner or later, you're going to get tired of doing shows about what your poop should look like with Cameron Diaz.
Does this ever happen to you?
Luckily, no. I'm not a girl that gets constipated.
Good for you. Lucky you, Diaz. Lucky you. And instead of that, you're going to get tempted to overstretch and do a show with a title like Can an Aspirin a Day Keep Cancer Away? To which the answer is clearly no. Not entirely, because I feel like if it did, we wouldn't be hearing about it for the first time at 4 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon. Hey, did you hear that they cured cancer? No, I was watching Wendy Williams. And look, the frustrating thing is, it's easy to fill a show with shameless pandering without dangerously misleading medical information. Here, I'll show you. I'll show you pandering that you wouldn't believe. Hey, everyone, wouldn't it be great if we had a Skype interview with George R.R. Martin, the writer of Game of Thrones? Wouldn't that be fun? OK, let's do it. Hey, George, how's the writing going?
I just killed 3 of your favorite characters.
What? It's not Arya. It's not Arya, is it? George, it's not Arya. Please tell me it's not Arya. Just give me a clue, damn you, Martin! OK, well, people seem to like that and no one got hurt, so let's keep pandering. Everyone likes puppies, don't they? Here's a puppy right now. Here's a puppy. Hello, puppy. Hello, puppy. And look, neither I nor the puppy are making unsubstantiated claims about potentially harmful dietary supplements. You're not doing that, are you, puppy? Look, because you don't need to, do you, precious? You don't need to. And look, here's something else that people like. Women in trashy dresses throwing wine in each other's faces. Look. People love that. They love it. Calm down, ladies, calm down. It's all fabricated. Let's keep pandering. Who wants a T-shirt? Who wants a T-shirt? Let's pander it up. Who wants a T-shirt? Who wants a T-shirt? Who wants a... People love T-shirts. They love T-shirts almost as much as they love celebrities dancing. And guess what? Here's Steve Buscemi tap dancing. Do you even know how to tap dance?
Not really.
Hey, Steve. Any thoughts, Steve, on the questionable benefits of dietary supplements?
Oh, John, this isn't really the time or place for that discussion.
Exactly! That's the point! See, Dr. Oz, we've done it! We engaged viewers without recommending any unregulated products that could potentially induce diabetes! And to celebrate this Panda Fest, please welcome the Black and Gold Marching Elite!